Bienvenido el mundo. No, seriously, welcome YouTube. This is my demonstration of what I have created. I call it the floating pole because it's similar to Pantera Blacksmith's flying pole, but it's fundamentally different. I pieced this one together with extra X-pole parts. They have no liability in this. This is not one of their official things. They probably don't even know I did this. I did it 2 years ago just because I had extra parts, and there might have been alcohol involved. I don't really drink, but there's probably still alcohol involved. This particular one I've had for about 2 years. It's a 50 millimeter chrome, and I'm about to send it to one of my pole tages in Georgia because she has had no pole for the whole 2 years I've lived here, and she's got plenty of trees because it's, you know, Georgia. Anyway, so if you have extra X-pole parts like I did, perhaps consider doing something with them, something legal. In my case, with the addition of simple rope, like this high tensile electric fence rope, I was able to create this here floating pole. So with 2 B poles, about 1 meter each, not the A pole because, let's face it, it's heavy and it's complicated. So basically 2 of these, one of which, the top, I put some electrical tape around the inner diameter, inner circumference, in order to reduce the potential of fraying the rope that's going to go past that. The other piece, which I've left the X joint in there, both strategically and because it's an incredibly old flex joint that other people have abused and I can't get it back out. This one is where the X joint lives, and this rope right here simply feeds through the top half here, and by simply I mean when it's not wound up on itself. So this is just for demonstrations. Don't let it wind up. You know, you want the healthiest possible rope when you're putting that much weight on it. And it's not just your normal weight, because this is dangling from something, and there can be drop weight involved, which is amplified, and then you got math and other stuff involved. Oh, come on. It's there. Here, some little help from, there we go. Okay, thank you. So once you got them together, use a 5 millimeters next to you there. Little interaction. Nope. It's literally right next to you there. This is our 3rd take. I'll explain why later. So, using the 5 millimeter, nothing else. Oh my God, stop using standard. There is no 5 millimeter equivalent.
Let's see what they did here.
Yeah, they stripped the out of this one right here, okay? That's bullshit. That's total bull. There's no reason for that. 5 millimeter fits in 5 millimeter. You know what else fits in 5 millimeter? Nothing. 5 millimeter. None of that 3/16 crap, all right? Or whatever it is. 5 millimeter. As per the original instructions of X joint and X pole, tighten one of them a little bit, then fully tighten, then fully tighten. There we go. That freaking simple. Once you get to this point, this is your anchor point. As long as this is not touching the ground and you've got an inch or so of leeway on the ground so that, you know, the rope, you know, stretches or whatever. The rope should be attached to something solid, or a very large tree branch in my case. When it's attached to something, feel free to throw a towel or a rag over that something and let the rope go around that so that the rope is again less likely to fray. And again, here at the tip, you can see that I put electrical tape around the ropes themselves. So the electrical tape rubs against electrical tape, little fraying as possible. You can use any pole segments with any X joints with the same principle as this. I guess the perfect situation would be to use a 2 meter B pole from an X stage and a 250 millimeter X joint from an X stage at the bottom, and that way the anchor point is down here. It will resemble like silks with a rigid pole attached to it. The advantage to doing it this way is that it still fits in the X pole bag. I can carry it where I need to. Allow me to demonstrate the actual act of putting the rope through the X joint. So you take a tip of the rope, wrap it in vinyl tape like so, make it look like a needle, make it nice and straight, as taut as possible with as few curves. Open up the X joint so that you've got that seam there. It adds just the slightest bit of area there that you can help feed this through. And then you simply feed it through very slowly. You can even watch it so that you can see which way it's going, because there is an open chamber in here that it can get caught in, and that would be very, very frustrating. Get about halfway, which I've already marked with the electrical tape, and then feed it back, or feed the other end through, or feed back the other one. It just depends on how you're going to do it. Feed it through, look through, twist it as much as you need to get past that chamber. And once you get there, I put electrical tape here too, in order to, again, prevent the likelihood of fraying, just like that. And that's how I prepared my X joint. So all of the weight is right here on the rope, underneath here, in the X joint. And as you can imagine, doing it this way means that if you put all of your weight on this bottom pole, and your grip on here is stronger than the X joint's grip on here, this will fall the remaining 3 inches or however far off the ground you are with you on it. Another advantage to having the weight-bearing X joint all the way at the bottom in a one-pole setup. Or if you really like feeding them through X joints, you can feed it through a second X joint and have the one down there holding the weight. But that's basically the idea. The whole thing weighs only as much as the B poles and the X joints involved. No heavy A pole, very easy to transport. We have questions from the audience. You there?
Yeah. What types of things can I hang this from?
Be smart. Literally anything solid. I've done it from a very large tree branch. I've done it from a metal girder. In that situation, you definitely want to use some sort of towel or something to wrap it around to make sure that the rope doesn't fray. I neglected to do it that time, and I was told that the rope started fraying, but it was obviously cut. Tisk, tisk. Anyway, also, wooden girders, anything like that, do not tie it around, let's say, the wrist of your buddy and see if he can hold you up or not. Spoiler, he can't. Yes, you over there.
So if I assemble this once, I don't need to check on it again?
No, just like regular X-Pole products, even though this is, again, not official, not condoned, no liability to X-Pole or anything like that, the X-joint is the mechanism of safety here, and you do need to periodically loosen this, retighten, loosen this, retighten, as per the instructions. And with the rope, you want to inspect it as paranoid as possible. So if you want to loosen this one and take it off so that you can see the bottom of it where this will exist, and check and make sure that that still looks fine and looks good. Although it's not perfect, you're not inspecting the whole length of the rope, you're inspecting most of it at that point. You also want to make sure that it's not shifted in here or here, because if it's shifted and it's higher, then you're that much closer to losing the bottom part under weight. So the first few times that you use this, definitely be only like an inch or so off the ground. I wouldn't try inverts or anything until you're convinced that the pieces that you're using will stand up to your usage.
And again, this is not an X-Pole product, but they make
this is not an X-Pole product. I am using X-Pole pieces and some rope and their bag, and they have no liability in this whatsoever.
Nor do you.
Well, yeah, technically nor do I. I'm just saying, hey, this is what I did. If you do the same thing and hurt yourself, then you're just that much dumber than me, or unluckier than me. For inspiration, check out Pantera Blacksmith and her flying pole. She's got the original flying pole. I'm pretty sure she's selling them. You can check her website, panteraspoleworld.com. Also, not liable for this. And in recent years, I believe in the last year and a half to 2 years, Karol Helms, she had a flying pole made. Hers is a very thin diameter. It felt like it was about 25 millimeters, 30 millimeters. Just check out Karol Helms. Feel free to ask her a few questions. Maybe she or her guy or her person who made it or selling them, I'm not sure. But if you have extra X-pole pieces and you don't have the justification to spend money on a legitimately safe flying pole, such as Pantera's or wherever Karol got hers, then here's an alternative. And you can get creative with this. The smaller the diameter you go, the more difficult it will be to feed through the X joints. And the newer pieces that you use, the better off you'll be, in that the X joints had 3 revisions. 2010 to 2013 had this first revision that had this aluminum dowel in between it. And unfortunately that was identified as one of the main reasons that when installed improperly, it would be allowed to shift. So the second revision, in place of the aluminum dowel, would have a steel bolt with a star on it, and that would help reduce the ability of this to shift when improperly installed. And then there was the third revision, which came out with the newest version of the X-Pole in May of 2014, just simply called the X-Pole NX or the X-Pole NS. Their X-joint has a channel here and is usable only with that new version of pole or its parts. So once extra parts become available for the 2014 plus model, I would highly recommend using those parts rather than these if you're going to go out and buy these parts to assemble this. 2 B poles and an X joint of this caliber, I think it ran like $80 is what you would pay brand new for the 2010 to 2013 model. Question, yes, you.
So this is really awesome, and I want to try it at home. But who are you, and why should I trust your advice?
Right. I am no one. You didn't see this video. I'm not held accountable. I'm Benjamin Cameron Hunt, otherwise known as Beardy McPoler, and I've been working with poles, we'll say since late 2011. And as much traveling as I've done to different pole studios and strip clubs and seen how they do their poles, I've got a pretty good idea of how poles can work and how they have worked. And it's I don't have a degree in anything. I'm not certified in anything, but gosh darn it, I've been to so many studios that that I feel that this is pretty safe. Plus, I've used it in the last 2 years. A friend of mine used it at her studio for a while. She used it in a few showcases. You might be able to find it there. Search for the term floating pole or flying pole. You should be able to find some videos. And be smart. If you try this and it doesn't feel safe, don't do it. Start off with your lightest weight, guinea pig first, and then move up to your heavier daredevils. And always film your progress. Be safe, because God forbid anything goes wrong. Not only do you want people there to help you, but you need video evidence that other people shouldn't be doing the same thing.
But we can always ask you if you have any questions.
Oh yeah, God, I'm bored like 80% of the time on my
So how do we find you?
Okay, so Facebook, you can find me, Beardy McPoler is my like page that I just created, because I ran out of friend spaces, because I friend request every polar ever. I'm not like popular, I just do a lot of friend requests. Or on my Facebook page, you can find me as Benjamin Cameron Hunt, nickname Beardy McPoler. And yeah, and if you do want to buy any poles for your home, again, they don't condone this video at all. They're not my sponsor or anything like that. Just xpole, us.com for those of you in America, xpole in .uk, or yeah, in the United States or in the United Kingdom, and I believe xpole.au in Australia. They've got both home, stage, studio poles. Yeah, good stuff. Yay! Thanks for watching.